don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? I know a lot, but I'd love to hear it, straight from you.
Oh gosh. We all kind of got to know each other from Ashland. That's kind of our origin story, but
Yes, sir.
That's kind of what kicked off my career too. My whole background.
What did you study, like digital media, while at Ashland?
So Ashland had this little
They did.
TV station,
I recall.
newspaper. So I went there for journalism and digital media, and basically they kind of let you from day one basically like get up behind the scenes, do the switchboard stuff, play with the audio, run camera at the football games. And before that, I had always wanted to be a journalist. Like,
Okay.
it was always something I wanted to do.
Were you thinking like print media, or like you wanted to be, Today Show kind of thing?
No, definitely not like the Today Show. There's just something like really, did you ever watch All the President's Men, Robert Redford?
I know the movie, but I have to admit I haven't watched it.
It is, I don't know, it's just something really cool about like them uncovering Watergate, like working with the sources, and I just loved that sort of thing. I'm also a history guy, and I think history and journalism, when they're done right, like can so beautifully be intertwined. I did go to school briefly for like a semester for solar and wind turbine, like engineering.
Interesting. I had a solar guy on pretty early on. Interesting guy. Interesting, industry.
Yeah, I highly regret not doing it just because the money you make.
You'd have been doing solar sales, that's like what it ends at. Like all roads lead to solar sales, door to door knocking. No.
Like you're on top of that wind turbine just praying to God. But yeah, no, so always wanted to be a journalist. Like I just found something beauty about being out in the field, like talking with people, loved all that. So after Ashland, like I'd applied to 50 TV stations. I'm like green as can be. No one would hire me except for this small TV station out in middle of nowhere, like Hazard, Kentucky, which is by far one of my favorite places now, just because I spent,
I've heard you talking about it. Yeah.
It's beautiful. But like I wanted to do that, so they let me in. Basically said you could be like a reporter, kind of. We'll give you a little bit of a go. I think the only reason I got the job is because I like said I was an Eagle Scout on my resume, and the guy who was the GM was like, "Oh, I was in Scouts too." So.
Jeez, that's funny, man. So you said that almost like immediately they were kind of letting you do like some in front of the camera reporting?
Yeah, it was a small like TV station. Like I mean, Columbus is market 61, I think. 62. Okay. So it's like.
You mean nationally?
Yeah, nationally. Like Cleveland, I think, is in the top 20 or close to that.
We have low viewership on our news, I guess. Columbus compared to Cleveland, right?
Yeah, they also have just a bigger broadcast range, I think. Like.
I see.
But this station was like a sister station of like a market 70-ish station, and basically some of our content would go there, but if you were to actually give us like a listing, it would be like 300, I would assume. Like in the late 200s, 300, so like super low. No harm, no foul, like if you kind of screw up on the TV station.
Yeah, right. They're like, nobody's watching, kid.
Yeah, but for what it's worth, this is what I don't get. Even though you didn't have as big of a viewership area, like we had such loyal viewers where we were, because it was an older generation, but also very, like it had been a staple of the community. It was that like station. People trusted the news, and I can go on a tirade about why there's such a distrust in media now, and local media, and why that's growing. But had a huge trust there, and really was able to kind of hone in my craft there. So I spent 3 years there, and from the time I started to the time I ended, I was like a different person. I actually, well, humble brag, 3rd Emmy.
I saw that, of course. You can see it in the background of your podcast setup. How many of those, the actual physical awards do they give out? Because you got one, right?
Yeah, it depends. It's also, so my grandma thinks it's like an Emmy, like you win it.
I saw it as a regional Emmy. I didn't know anything about this, and I saw that it was a regional Emmy. Not to say it's any less, important.
It is much less important. Well, some might argue more important. Because local news, man.
That's true, right?
But yeah, it was. It's the Ohio Valley region, so it's basically parts of Kentucky, a lot of Ohio, some of Indiana, just kind of that whole space.
So you spend 3 years there. What kind of things are you covering in that time horizon?
Genuinely, like name a topic, you probably covered it. It was I loved, so where I found my love was the human interest stories.
Okay.
Like going out and, so-and-so, there was a good one that came up the other day in the region that I didn't get to cover because I don't work there anymore. But it was like a guy who walked to work every day, but like would like jam his guitar, like the whole walk to work, which is like, that's just a cool story. And someone in the community knows that person. And it's like it's a piece that binds the community. And so those were the pieces I loved, like, the little kid who's, in remission who gets a tour in the Kentucky State Police car, like going around with them that day. Like stuff like that. Loved those stories. But also there was a lot of like, hey, there's this double homicide, we need you to see if you can find the family and see if they'll be willing to talk about the victim. And it's like, that happened today. Like, why the fuck?
Yeah, it's like, you're fine. Yeah.
Like, why would I do that? It goes against like everything I'm trained to do.
Right.
Like, go to this car crash, can you get some shots to, we don't need to do that. That's not what people do. Like the adage is like, if it bleeds, it leads. Like, I hate that. I think that's so, like, people, you can write up a web story on that and people get the same impact. You know what I mean?
Right. And I guess in TV, are the incentives similar in TV versus internet? Right? Because internet, it's all like clicks. Like, we need clicks, we need eyes, we need views. And then we know like what kind of topics like end up trending there. It's like incendiary topics, or like the YouTube video that's got like a pretty girl in the thumbnail. It's like those are the things that get clicked. But is it similar in television? Like,
it kind of all is starting to morph together in my mind. In television, you would always want something strong to start. So it's broken into blocks. You have your A block, B block, C block, and the A block essentially is your like top stories, and that's what you want to be able to tease out. But that's kind of the things they want, is like stuff that you can tease out in advance. But more or less, also the more they can have on a web story, the better like it is for them if they have video and photos.
so it's like 2 usages.
Yeah, and the thing that sucks is I think that most viewers, like, while they want to be informed about that, they don't need that to be the lead story. Or if it is, they just need the information on it. They don't need a whole like 2-minute piece on trying to, get video or do a jailhouse interview with someone who committed a crime. I don't know. I get why, because it gets eyeballs, but I think people really value like the things going on in their community outside of that.
Yeah, right. And not to mention, it could be a story, but not something that you need to do 3 minutes on. And now, because you're doing 3 minutes, you can't just be like, 3 people were killed in a car accident today. And it's just like, oh, geez, that's terrible. But like, do I need to like see the video? Do I need Connor at the scene holding his mic? Right? Because there's no 15-second story, right? It's only like, we need a 3-minute story.
Yeah. It's like, here's our package to start off. We're gonna have you live at this car crash. And it's like, what does me being live there add to the story that just having video of the scene, or just having a photo of the wreck that someone sent in saying that this is closed? What more value does it add? Because I think my value would be spent more, doing the human interest story, or doing a more investigative piece, right? Something substance, what's going on in the community. And I think that's if you ask any reporter, most of them I think will say that is kind of where they lie too, is like, they don't feel the need to. It's also, they're pushing more newscasts as it's been as there's been a consolidation of local stations. There's more newscasts to fill, which in turn essentially means like, hey, we need you to maximize what we can get. So if there's something that's getting a lot of eyeballs, like a car crash, like, the incentive's there to do that, because we can have you there live at 4, 5, 6, do a fake one for the 11, that's.
How much is it that they have to have stories every day, right? And you can't do an investigative journalism piece every day, right? Because I've heard that from reporters, that investigative journalism is extremely expensive. And you talked about the Watergate story. It's like, I don't know how long they were working on that. It might have been 2 or 3 years. That was back when like you could spend like, we're going to pay this kid $50,000 for 3 years and he's going to produce one story. And if it's a bombshell like that, it's amazing for the network. But if it's just a dud, or people are like, oh, that's interesting, they move on, then you've spent a lot of money on a story that didn't really make the company a lot of money, right?
Yeah, no, I completely get that. I think the thing is there used to be the resources to do that though, right? Where someone, if you just had a morning show, a 6 o'clock newscast, and maybe an 11 o'clock, like let's just say you have a morning show at your 6, which are typically like some of your most popular shows. You can, if you have 12 people working for you, you can take 2 or 3 of them off to spend time working on something that's more than a single day.
Mm-hmm.
You can spend like 2 or 3 days working on that, or even longer, or have something in the background while you do that. But if you have 7 newscasts to fill, that's when you start getting national content in there, of course. But you're going to want all your people working on that. Maybe one person can do it if you're a bigger station, but a lot of these stations don't have 12 people. They have maybe 2 anchors. Well, I'm thinking smaller stations like the one I came from. Like Columbus is a little bit different, but a lot of like smaller stations where there's a lot of that potential for a good investigative story or a good feature story that's going unreported or unseen, they don't have the resources to do that.
So then it's like we just need to kind of fill the content with what's happening right now. What happened today?
Yeah, and that's where you get tons of national news that trickles into the content because they have the wires where you can pull, oh, here's a good package from, if I'm affiliated with CBS, I can take CBS's package that they had run about X, Y, or Z topic.
Today, President Trump announced a 35% tariff on Venezuela. You're like, okay, all right.
Why is that in the, 10 minutes into my local news? I can watch the national news after this if I'm interested, or see it on social media. My local news should be completely focused on local.
So is this where, like, you've seen these, I'm sure, where it'll be like a YouTube short and it'll be like, the message from on high, and it'll be like 20 news stations, they're all saying the exact same story. It's like the Democrats are running the news.
No, that's the thing that cracks me up. People think it's so sinister, and it's sinister in one regard, where it's like, it's sinister because they've just consolidated media to that level where it's owned by one company who says, hey, you got to run this message at the top of your block. And they go, okay, company that owns me, I want to keep my job, I'll put this message at the top of the block.
Right.
But on another note, these people are just like trying what they can to fill their newscasts.
Mm-hmm.
More of a push for the ad dollars, which is, I think, what's at the core of it all is just trying to get more dollars.
Right. You have to run, I don't know, how long do most, like morning news programs run? An hour or 30 minutes?
Yeah, 2 hours.
Jeez.
Yeah, right? You have a 2-hour morning show. Let's say you have an hour block at your noon. So some now have a 10 o'clock that they run. Then you have a 4, a 4:30, a 5, a 5:30, a 6. Usually 6:30 is your national news, and then you can have a 10. You can also have an 11. Yeah, that's crazy.
So is someone like in the studio in Hazard, Kentucky, doing every single one of those?
Yeah, typically.
Not like we're gonna film a morning, we're gonna repeat it like SportsCenter. I don't know how that works, but if you have your TV on SportsCenter, eventually you're like, this is the exact same thing that I've seen. Hold on a minute.
Yeah, it used to be, but now they basically simulcast from a different station. But one of the things that you're going to see soon, because there was a new, I don't know if it's a new law or it was a ruling, Supreme Court ruling that basically said you can own now 2 stations in the same market. So let's say, so historically you could not, let's say, own 10 TV and NBC4.
And who, when you say private entity?
Yeah, private. So Tegna, Gray, Nexstar, Hearst, these are like companies that own a lot of local stations. I used to work for a Gray company, and they own like a bunch of local stations. So 10 TV, for example, is Tegna, and I might butcher this, but I think NBC4 is Nexstar.
Okay. I've never heard of any of those companies before, so that's funny because these are probably enormous companies that are like controlling a lot of the media.
100%. And that's the thing I think people don't get is like there are these companies that are owning all of your local stations, and that's where they're getting some of their content from. That's where they're getting their directions from. That's who's deciding, more dollar, all that stuff. It's because it's a corporation. If you go back basically to like, was it the telecommunications? I'm going to get real nerdy for a second.
No, yeah, please.
Telecommunications Act of 1996 basically said you can own more. There used to be like 7-7-7 rule or 12-12-12 rule. I can't quite remember. But basically, it was like you could own 7 AM stations, 7 PM stations, and 7 TV stations. That was it. You couldn't own more.
Okay.
If I'm correct with what I'm, because maybe there was something before that, but basically the Telecommunications Act of 96 said, hey, you can now own as many as you want.
Got it.
No limit to, which I think is detrimental to news.
Okay. Yep. That makes sense to me. That said, I'm pretty libertarian with most of my corporate ideas. So I don't know. It's one of those tough things where it's like, is the regulation the solution or the problem? Mm-hmm.
Well, I could say, just from my own opinion, that I think it is only done horrible things for local news. But back to the reason I brought this up. Now, there was, after that was passed, it was like you can own basically as many stations as you want, except it doesn't like exceed 39% of the market share. So like, let's say, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this, but basically you can't go more than that market share in the demographic. And what this Supreme Court ruling basically allows now is like, let's say Nexstar, who owns NBC4, wants to acquire Tegna.
10 TV, yep. Mm-hmm.
What's happening?
Oh, so it's even more consolidation.
Yes, they can own now 2 stations in your area.
Mm-hmm.
What that looks like, I have no idea. In reality, do they merge the two? You'll remember when the Kimmel stuff happened, Nexstar was the station that was calling for him, like they're not going to air him, they were calling for all this stuff. I think because they're wanting this massive merger with Tegna to go through, that's kind of...
that's what I've heard some people saying.
Yeah, which if like that would allow them to own multiple stations in the same area, which I don't think is good. I think competition's great, especially among TV stations in the area, but I also don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, I guess on the flip side, there's more competition for eyeballs than ever because people are getting their news in different places. Like they'll tune into your podcast or they'll watch your shorts and they'll be like, this is real Columbus, news. This is not manufactured news from a newscaster. And
yeah, that's come down from like that has like half national news in it. Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's like, is it even worth fighting that fight about those TV stations when it is like a declining industry?
I don't have cable. I have YouTube TV, which I will go on the record saying is too expensive, but it's still remarkable. I get like all these stations, it's funny, right? Like you're like, oh, the apps will, make us free. And now I got Hulu and Netflix and YouTube TV. And now the Cavs are playing their first game of the season. So I got to buy FanDuel Sports TV or something to watch all those games. Oh, and I got Apple TV for the crew. I'm like, this is BS.
It's so funny just how it basically is just now the same.
I know. It's from a different name and a different pricing structure, but now it's just the same.
I will go on record by agreeing with you that YouTube TV
Oh my gosh, come on YouTube. You got enough money going on.
You're going to be flagged for posting this on YouTube because of this whole segment right here.
Yeah, well, they can deduct it from my lucrative earnings.
So is that part of the reason why you think that we've started to focus more on national news? Is that at least a piece of it?
Yeah, I think that's a huge piece of it. There was more of a, for better or for worse, a consolidation of where the news was coming from, right? CBS, ABC, NBC back in the 60s. I think we went through some really screwed up times in the past, and there was not as much focus on it every minute because one, they only had a 6 o'clock newscast. They didn't have social media or all this stuff. But I think that's like one of the main reasons there's such a focus at the high level of everything going on. There's also a lot going on, but now that we have basically information at our fingers, I think social media is the biggest reason that there's a focus on that. Because, yeah.
Well, it didn't used to be 24/7 news. That's sort of a new thing. So by definition, the more news you have, the more news stories we need to give you, and you just can't, as you stated, do that on a local scale. You can't have like 24/7 news about a town like of 30,000 people. Like there's just not enough. Yeah, right. Like now you're doing, information pieces about like the fourth town council person and like, what does your business do, Mr. Jacobs? Like, is this necessary, really?
Yeah, I wish there was a world where the ad dollars would work where you could only have maybe 3 newscasts in a day at a local level, and then you could fill those with super quality pieces where you don't feel like you have to repurpose the same stuff for 3-4 newscasts, and just really hone in on like what is the heartbeat of your community. Who are the people that are making it tick? Who are the people with cool ideas? What are the things happening in your community? Really hone in on that. I think there'd be so much value. Much value.
Well, that's a good segue. So talk to me about where you go after Hazard, and why did you end up leaving? I mean, I think I can probably guess that there's just not a lucrative future in Hazard local news, but
No, yeah, that's exactly it. And there's not a lucrative career in news in general.
what if you make it to like, okay, maybe talk me through that. Okay, what's like the reporter in Hazard gonna make? What's the reporter in Columbus gonna make? What's the reporter for, the maybe maybe you don't, like the Today Show kind of thing?
Yeah. Reporter in Hazard, I could tell you make $26,000 a year, which is
Not a lot.
not a lot. It's the really generous way to put it.
That's probably below the poverty line, right?
That's high enough.
Oh, come on, Hazard. Yeah, geez, that's brutal, right?
Yeah, it was. So I think the company though now like does it so you have a minimum wage of at least like $18 if you work there. So I think that does equate to like $38,000 now. So those people are probably making more now. Not that way when I was there.
Still not gonna be buying you a new Mercedes-Benz, that's for sure.
Yeah, solar and wind turbine shit. Could have been making money.
Well, you would have had to move because Ohio is not super friendly to solar. That was the guy that I had on the podcast. He moved to Illinois, I think. And I had a buddy in Massachusetts who was doing it, and it was really lucrative in Massachusetts because their state laws were extremely friendly. And Illinois was, I don't think that intense, but big market, and it was better. Whereas Ohio, part of the problem was that you talk about like, big organizations and consolidation. The power companies will grant you the ability, yes or no, to put solar on your home, and you can only produce up to 90% of your bill. So they will never let you produce like on a regular basis, 110, 120, 150, because they're under no obligation to buy that power from you. So they're like, we'll give you a 12-month credit on your power if you produce it, but we're not going to buy that power from you. Whereas in, I think, Illinois and Massachusetts, that was not true. The power companies would buy the power from you. So you could come in and you could juice your house with like 200%, and your bill might be $200, but you might make another $200. And then what my friend in Massachusetts was doing was he would lease you a unit and it'd be $380 a month, or it'd be $400 a month. So it's like, boom, you have your solar and there's no cost to you on a month-by-month basis. The cost is just kind of flying around between the power company and us and the equipment lessee.
I had no idea Ohio was like.
Ohio, yeah. Yep.
I couldn't say I'm like super like shocked. I just feel like that makes sense. It doesn't make sense to me, but like I see from the, if they're not going to buy it, they're not going to buy it.
And you can tell, and I had a solar guy come out, and he's like, the problem isn't that we don't get enough sun. A lot of people think that we don't get enough sun. He said, the problem is a couple of fold in our state. One, bad laws that are not allowing to...
Ohio bad laws?
Yeah, not at least for this particular thing. They're not allowing you to do a lot with, like, producing extra energy. What's true here is most of what I get charged for my power is a demand charge. So I have 2 charges here. One's a demand timing. It's like a timing charge. Like you're using a lot of power when everyone else does, which is between 9 to 5, duh. And that's like, our peak time. So we're actually like 70% of your bill is that. Only 30% is actually like the power usage. So I could only wipe out that little 30%, so it didn't really help. We had a payback period of like 10 years. And then the intermittency nature of it, because there's no good method of storing a ton of energy in the summer and like using that in the winter. Like you can't like you're going to have like during the summer, you're going to have like great days, but then once it gets cloudy and cold and windy, it's like you're just back to regular power now. So yeah, there's some challenges.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, we had thought about like putting solar on our roof eventually if we were gonna stay there long term, but I don't know.
The payback period here was like 11 years. I was like, that is not a logical business investment for us. No. Okay, so you make,
Yeah, sorry.
you're making 26,000.
Yeah. So
And next level.
next level would be like a mid market. So
What's that?
So that's like a good mid market was Lexington, Kentucky.
Okay.
Knoxville was near us. Columbus was a little bit upper. I actually think Columbus might be higher than 60. I said 60 earlier, but like I was looking at Columbus too. The pay for a reporter, my buddy was trying to get a job there, was like they offered him in Lexington. It was like $37,000. It's like, how are you supposed to live in a city then?
Yeah, a modest gain. You need like another job. You need to like drive Uber. Yeah.
You do, and if you're like, and that's a job that is like 10 hours a day. And then I remember like looking at Columbus's, and it was because I really wanted to go and work at. I wanted to work at 10 TV back before it was bought by Tegna, when it was independently owned, and it was independently owned like right up until like 2019, 2018.
So that was like an independent company that started a news station back in like
Basically, yeah.
70s, 80s, 90s thing?
Yeah, it was a Dispatch Broadcasting Group.
Oh, yeah.
By the Wolf Company, the Wolf family, but they basically own that. And there's several independent stations still out there, and I really wanted to work at an independent station because usually they're more like, go at it with the money.
They're not necessarily so profit motivated.
They're very community.
We see this too, like when businesses get bought by private equity, like the business just totally changes. And, you know, we could have a whole nother conversation about private equity and are they or are they not ruining America? Well, the one thing I could say is it seems clear with the companies that I've interacted with, they're ruining those companies because they come in, they fire like half the workforce. The remaining 60%, they're like, you're going to do 100% of the work. We're not going to increase your wages. And then they are just only and exclusively like profit, lower cost.
Yeah.
And they'll do these crazy things because they're like, we're going to sell this company in 3 years. Like, we're not building this for the long term.
Yeah, I'm like a big fan of the free market and stuff like that, but I think that like just I don't have to get down the rabbit hole, but I think they're not doing great things either. I've watched the decline in that's the reason like newspapers basically don't exist anymore is because they're bought up by private equity or something like that, and then they're basically scrapped down to the bones where they're just an online publication. You know, and the argument can be made like, yeah, well, what was the newspaper gonna do? And it's like, well, if you're still running like a once a week paper or something like that where you have a really local presence instead of having to consolidate, I don't mean to get on that train, but I definitely think that's been bad for the media industry.
Yeah, I think it's been bad for a lot of industries. I would say the unfortunate thing is sometimes the market does not move as fast as people want it to. So I do think this model will eventually like not work, and people will go, oh, like we need to build for the long term. And I think people will get more comfortable with like, I want to run this company for like 30 or 40 or 50 years. But I think people have gotten swept up in this really recently where it's like, I can start a company and sell to private equity and do a tag along and sell again and make $1 billion. And they'll always probably be that, but I think that the sense and sentiment on that will change.
I hope
So too.
But back to like the mid-market things. I was like looking around, and I think 10 TV or something like that was like $40,000.
Okay, still not much.
Yeah,
it's like a bad teacher. Yeah,
it's just such a shame. And now they're hiring a lot of people. No shade to people who are maybe in a mid-level TV station who just got out of college, but like you're really doing a disservice to the community sometimes because like I made so many huge mistakes like at a small station where there was not a big demographic that, you know, the stakes were less high, and now where it's like they're trying to get more bang for their buck or hire someone right out of college, you can pay them $26,000. That in a way that like that's you're gonna make your mistakes on a much larger stage. That's gonna be definitely more reason for people who watch to maybe lose a little bit of trust. And I'm not saying that falls on the reporters. I think the reporters are doing the best that they can with trying to keep their head above water in that. But
What would you say are some of the mistakes that you made just kind of learning on the job?
Just, yeah, absolutely. Like saying the city wrong, saying a township wrong. Like if I were to go on and like butcher how to say like Westerville, or said that there was a car crash at the corner like near Westerville and Plain City, like you'd be like, what are you?
Yeah, there was a crash on 370. You're like,
Yeah.
where is that a real road?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then especially when it's like more historical things or like something that's maybe more of a feature, and you just butcher it there too, like you're calling the Columbus Metropolitan Library like a different or something like that. Like people will notice that and be like, oh, this person isn't really connected to the community as much. There's also not a lot of time to do that though when you're working in these jobs to get super involved, which was like my favorite part about like on my off days, because I was single and didn't have anything to do in rural Kentucky, was like going out in the community, like meeting people, and that's where you learn your stories. It's like, oh, so and so like did this the other day, that'd be a good story. And I'd be like, oh, that's a great story.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I keep backing up.
No, you're good. You're good. So is that kind of the path you got to slog through, like 36, 38, 42?
If you're really good, you can make higher jumps. Like you could have, like if you were really good and you're in Hazard, you could make a jump to maybe like a 30, 20, and then like who knows, maybe you can get to like a Seattle, a New York, like somewhere in California. And then you can go to like a more national news outlet like a CBS, ABC, or whatever.
Okay, so you say really good. Define for me what makes a really good newscaster? Because from the outside looking in, and I know this is a rudimentary thing, but you somewhat so have a predetermined script.
Yeah.
Somewhat. There's maybe some amount of ad-libbing if you're like in the field. All right, Connor, give us a cut. What separates someone who's good, great, and you watch them and you go, wow, that person's like a pro?
What I think and what is the reality are very different.
Okay.
But the reality is you're clean on air. You can talk and speak and make it sound like it's not a script. It's more of you talking to another person, right?
Yep.
That's why people love podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Because it feels much more conversational. So you can be more conversational with scripts. You're really good on the fly. You have and you have a deeper knowledge of topics or an ability to learn quickly. I think it also helps if you're like an attractive person.
I was gonna say like, because you watch ESPN and like they're not even trying to hide it. They're just getting like girls who are like 8s, 9s, and 10s on there, and like they're not trying to hide it.
Seemingly.
That's
like,
why I got out.
Yeah, I think that for a while, they were like, well, we'll get like, some.
People who are like relatively attractive, some balding older guys, and then they're just like, yeah, we're just
The last chance for the network.
we're just exclusively just gonna get really attractive girls to do this job.
And they can be talented. People can be super talented.
Right.
But my thing is I think that what makes a really good person in news is someone who is really rooted, and maybe you can't really do that on the national level, but really rooted in community. Like I think that's the precipice of it. If you know the people in your community, it comes through in your reporting. When you're talking to someone, when you're telling, the story, you know what questions to ask. You know the background of, so-and-so's bar got broken into. That can be the story. But, so-and-so, did you know he's trying to put his daughter through school right now? And this is the job that is able to put her through school. If you don't know like that additional connection or those questions to ask, you don't find that good story. If that makes sense, right? The story can be about a robbery, or it can be about how, this guy is working really hard to put so-and-so through school, and this was like just like something that put it back some. You know what I mean?
So that's a field reporter. What about like talk to me about the difference between like a field reporter and an anchor, and do they interoperate? Are you like, oh, I do field and then I come to the studio, I do anchor, and then switch back and forth, or no?
You can do both. The people who are really good can do both.
Right.
Well, I was only good out in the field and not live shots. So like
okay.
Already like you can go and look at my past anchoring. Like you can YouTube it. Not great. Like it felt like I was reading from a script. I felt that way when I was doing it. When I would try to ad-lib what was going on, like I would try to butcher things because I'm like trying to remember the facts, but also like again, like I have a little script in my head, so I'm not reading it really well. What I was really good at was like the feature reporting though. But to your original point, like if you can do both really well, you're set. I mean, I have a buddy. His name's Will Puckett. He works at WBLT in Knoxville. You could put that man in front of whatever scene, give him 3 talking points and be like, this is the info we have. He could go on a full minute and give you like an in-depth, like, this is what's going on, here's what I see, and like sound like he's talking to just like he's here at this table with us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's great, like he's so good. And when you have those skills, like that's like stay in the industry.
What do you think that is? Do you think that he's just like relaxed, almost like he's just not as nervous as other people?
Because for me it was nerves, for sure. Like when they say we're live in 3, I'm like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
He's cool, but also I think that's just a skill you acquire. There's one thing I was taught to do when I started there, which is what kind of helped a little bit because I was like super green, was it's like, hey, read a newspaper article or read an article online, then stand in front of a mirror and repeat it back to you with what you can remember,
right.
Kind of like you're doing a live show.
Base level facts, right?
100%. And some people can get really good at that. Some people are just born with that ability. I truly think some people just have that ability, whether it be like upbringing and how they get communicated to, or like what they do early on. But he was one of those people that like just have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's almost like reading comprehension and then like ability to like tell the story, essentially. It's storytelling is really what it is.
Exactly. Like he'd be a great teacher. You know what I mean? Because he can like take things and digest it down. And at the core of it, like you said, it is storytelling, not reporting. And I think that's the big thing that people kind of miss. High horse.
Okay, so what if I excel, I go to, a big market, let's say it's Columbus or even bigger than that, maybe like Chicago or something like that. Do people then jump from there to like national, or do they go to like ESPN? I know that is a thing, or go from there to like a different kind of thing.
Sometimes, yeah. Some people have like a goal though. Like I wanted to get to Cleveland one day before I came to Columbus, and then I'm like, oh, I want to stay in Columbus. But if you have like your eyes set on somewhere, sometimes people want to just jump around in the early years. But some people will go into it going, I want to end in Chicago. That's where I know I want to spend my career. Work my way through the ranks there. Some people also might want to go at like a big market and like a Chicago and be like, okay, I'm a reporter there. I did that for 5 years. I did some anchoring there. Now I can go back to a smaller market where I would have been maybe an entry-level reporter.
And I'm like a stud, yeah.
Yeah, right. I get to be on the anchor desk.
Mm-hmm.
Or like I get the Monday through Friday gig, which is like a coveted gig in news, so you're not working weekends. Yeah, so it kind of depends on what the goal is. Like, for example, I knew I wanted to just be a Monday through Friday out in the field feature reporter. Well, actually, my dream was to have like one story a week. There's like a guy up in Minneapolis, his name's Boyd Huber, one of the most talented storytellers in local news. And he basically has like 4 days to work on, it's something like that, where he has basically the week to work on one big feature story, and it airs. I mean, and that's a sponsored segment, so like he gets it covered and stuff. And that was like my dream, is to find a station that'd be like, yeah, you get one story a week, find some cool feature, some people doing something cool in the community or something going on, and that's your story this week. Spend as much time as you want, like making it special through the editing, the visuals, the storytelling, the interviews, yeah. And they usually go much longer than 2 minutes.
So you said the editing. Are you involved in the cinematography even then? Like, get this shot, so you're dragging some camera boy around?
Depends on the station size. Like in Hazard, I did it all.
You set the camera up, walked around,
Yeah. When I was out in the field, I would like pack up my gear in the morning. We'd get assigned a story, or we'd come up with a story. We'd go out to the story, shoot, like call the people, get the interviews, set up the camera, record the interviews. Then come back around 2-3 o'clock, get into the edit bay, start editing. You have to get a teaser for the 4 o'clock, put together your package for 6 o'clock.
Just a lot, yeah.
And then when you're done with that, you put together your web story. And that was a small station. Now bigger stations, you might get a photojournalist. Now that's getting phased out in a lot of
That would be someone who just goes and takes pictures?
Yeah, comes with you with a camera. So you can do like the live shots and you can do other things. They're making it more of a multimedia, MMJ, is what they call it, multimedia journalist approach now, where the one person kind of does everything because it's more cost efficient.
Of course. And the camera's gotten so much easier to operate that you don't necessarily need, the cameras are smaller, they're simpler, you just set it up like we did, tripod, hit record, go.
Yeah, so as it's kind of phasing out, people are doing more MMJs, but I think it's always nice to have a second person there. I had that a few times for like some of the bigger stories when we'd go to like cover like a Kentucky sporting event in a different place or something like that, and that was always fun because you can like be on camera and then they're like walking around with you, it can be interactive. But for just traditional like reporting, I think there's just a lot of value in like even if you are doing it alone, just having the time to work on a story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that definitely sounds kind of stressful. Like, go get the story, be back by 2, go put it in. Yeah, it's even just stressful, like managing the equipment and making sure it's all set up right. And yeah, did you hit record? Did you get the audio? Like, I mean, even just this, like, it's a process. And if you're by yourself, it's like nobody to call, like nobody to like lean on. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's why I always say, like, when people are getting out of the news industry, people always say like hire reporters, because like if you think like, oh, you know, the 9 to 5, they're gonna like approach that 9 to 5 like that's why I do the podcast, because it's like I know all those parts, I go into it and
It's so simple, like,
right, it's like, oh my god,
show up, hit record, go.
like my first job after that was I set up like a media department at an addiction recovery center in Kentucky, like working all their media stuff.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and it was kind of the thing was like the first day they were like, hey, here's the plans, this is what we're hoping, we kind of want this little TV show that goes out, we want X, Y, and Z to be part of it. And I was like, yeah. And they were like, what's kind of the timeline for that? And I was like, I can probably get it up like right about the end of the day, maybe tomorrow. And they're like, well, we were thinking like 2 months. Like, and it's just, because it's just like that mentality of like, I gotta get this done.
Yeah.
I do in the day.
That's hilarious. Day 1, I can get your series out today.
So I learned.
They're like, it needs to be out by noon. You're like, oh, okay, all right.
I can go get them this afternoon.
Yeah.
No, spread it out over the course of 2 weeks, man.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and a lot of people in news are the same way. I know that I've left where like my first day at my non-TV job, I was like, I didn't know what to do at like 11 o'clock when I had finished everything.
So what if do you know anybody who, you said you have a buddy that's like really good and kind of moving up, like what kind of wages can I make if I'm ESPN, like I'm on air regularly, or ABC, NBC, CNBC?
That's where I kind of couldn't give you a good answer, because I only stayed in like the smaller local news, and I only know people that are in like mid-level local news. I know some people are like producers at like CNN or things like that, but a lot of it also comes down to you get like an agent who manages your content and all that stuff, and then there's like all these other things with you. You can get speaking gigs on top of that. So I couldn't tell you. I assume it's somewhere in the mid 6 figures.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. 100 plus. Yeah. Well, it's tough business too, because it's sort of like the old Hollywood, where it's like you have to make the director happy if you want to get into the movie, honey. And it seems very similar to that. It's like, hey, you gotta. And this is what I've sort of observed with like the political stations. It's like, you kind of got to tell the story. Like we can put a different pretty face in front of the camera to tell the story that we want to tell. Now, I don't know how true that is, but that's sort of what I have heard, is that if you don't like tell the CNN or the Fox News talking point, they're like, we can get rid of you. Like we have the camera. You don't have the camera. We have Fox News. Now there are people who break out like Tucker and Megyn Kelly and folks like that, but not a lot of people are like that.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's just like you get presented the script and you're behind the desk, and I mean, that's how it was when I was an anchor at a small station. It was like, hey, here's the script, your producers worked on this script, your people like that. I maybe contributed a story to the script. I'm maybe doing a read through of that script right before the show, and I can make a few notes in there, but it's really hard to like adjust a newscast from like the talent point of view when, you know, the producer had put together a whole newscast for, you know, over the course of, because that's their job, so the entire day they've been working on the 11 o'clocker.
It's like when the machine gets bigger, you get less say in what is you're the voice, you're the mouthpiece, right? But like now you're the important person, but you're just following the guidance of like 50 people who put the story together today.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's for bigger newscasts. That's kind of what it comes down to. There's so many things going on, so many people trying to weigh in what's more important, what's doing that, and it's just that's what you get in a newscast then.
Yeah, well, not to mention that those companies are extremely large, so they are very profit motivated. They're like, not only are we in competition for idea, but it's like Fox needs to beat CNN this quarter in terms of like revenue and ratings and all this. So then they aren't necessarily giving you the information that is going to be best for the nation. It's like giving you the information that is best for like our station to drive ratings.
Yeah, what are the other folks covering, right? Like, is this going to be like something that keeps people on our newscast throughout the day? Which I don't know. Like, it's just a shame. Like, I really enjoy when it's. I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. Like, when you have a newscast and it's well balanced, not even politically, but just in terms of the content. I always, CBS for a long time, I always enjoyed like their CBS Sunday mornings or CBS's 60 Minutes. Like,
Oh, yep.
I used to love. I mean, I still watch their stuff. But it was always like much more. Here's the news of the day. It's like, oh, here are like stories that are relevant to right now, but they're also more featurey. There's different angles, highlights of people in the community. I don't know, and that's what I enjoy, and I think that's what stations should do. Like, I think stations should have gotten out of their old ways 20 years ago and saw that the digital move was coming and start moving like super, and some did, but start moving like almost not exclusively, but super heavy to digital. Picking up on podcasts, picking up on like YouTube exclusives, all that stuff, putting a huge push to social media. That's not just a clip of their newscast, but like putting people that are talent, like, to connect with them on their social media and stuff like that. Because that was like, people are switching where they're getting their news. Like, why are you so risk averse to that change? And they could have, a lot of these stations could have beat out some of the podcasters.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they missed their shot though. It was there for them to jump in when they had a significant resource advantage. But now it's sort of actually the opposite, where it's like they're at a resource disadvantage to the big podcasts out there. I mean, look at someone like Tucker, where he leaves Fox, he starts the podcast, and now it's like the biggest podcast. I think it's like number one overall podcasts. And actually, I don't know if you've seen on Spotify, they'll tell you like the listens. Have you seen that?
Just
episodes. Yeah.
200,000+.
Yeah. So you can just like scroll through. You're like, holy cow. And it's interesting because now you can see like, oh, this podcast I listen to, it's got 100,000 plays. This other one, it's got 4 million plays. I'm like, wow, that's a big difference in scale.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I will say this: New York Times saw the writing on the wall and started their podcasting really early on, I think, and figured out a way to kind of do like more stuff like Vox was doing or something. They came in and they kind of saw that and started to shift towards that. So I gotta give the credit to where it's due. They did see that, and they got like a podcast network and all that other fun stuff. But.
So your podcast, is this kind of your ongoing creative and journalism outlet? Do you think it's?
I don't think what I do is journalism.
I think so. I mean,
I appreciate that. I think I like to just talk with people, and that's what I missed a lot. That was my favorite part about TV, was like the talking and getting to know people and that sort of thing. But then having to cut it down to like a 2-minute thing was never great. So like my little rebellion against that, it's like, oh, I can now talk to someone for an hour and 10 minutes and not have to cut a thing from it.
Well, I do think it's journalism, because you've already talked to a lot of cool people in the Columbus community. You talked to the chef over at Chapman's. Did you get the inside scoop on what happened there?
Yeah, BJ, great dude.
Yeah. I've never like interacted with him like in person, but I've been at a ton of events where he's there and he's speaking and he's doing the thing, and I'm just like, hey, thanks,
Yeah, he said basically like he valued his time with his family a lot, and he was getting to the point where he was spending less and less time with them, because when he started everything, he didn't have kids, and now he has a kid, and he was spending less and less time with them, so he was trying to find a way to responsibly to phase out Chapman's, and then when he started his new place, to have that under like more, I forget exactly what I said. I'm gonna butcher this. It's in the podcast. Go on.
Like other people could actually manage Mitzi's.
Yeah, 100%, and that was why he did that. Essentially, it came from a place of wanting to spend more time with his family.
I get it. That makes sense. That's sort of the difference between like I'm an artist and I'm a businessman, right? Like if you're a businessman, you're like, this thing's humming, dude. I'll get a manager in here, you know? I could spend more time with my family if I just, bring Alex in to manage the restaurant. Just manage it. Like, sure, quality might drop 10%, but like it's still pretty good.
Where I think like he at the end of the day, from the conversation I had with him, it sounded like he really loved what they were doing at Chapman's, but he really wanted to be responsible about how he closed it too, in leading up to the fact that he was going to be with his family. So it wasn't like it's closed this week. It was like a long time getting to the point where it was there. Like he started seeing that offboarding process early on.
Who else have you talked to in this greater Columbus community that's really stood out to you?
I would say one of my favorite conversations was with Jerry Revish.
Yeah, that was one of your first, right?
One of my first. That's one of the reasons it was my favorite, because
it's funny you said, because a couple of my favorite podcasts are like one of my first handful, and I don't know if it's just like the nostalgia, like reminiscing on old times. Yeah, you don't even quite know what you're doing. And you're like, wow, that really clicked,
Yeah, and I didn't have a single episode published yet, and for those of you who don't know who Jerry Revish is, was like an icon of 10 TV for like, better part of 30 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Was like the main anchor, did all these stories. I had some really meaningful journalism that like basically like one of his stories exonerated someone basically who was convicted of a crime. Like he's done some great reporting, and over those years you probably like step on some toes. You probably some people that So I didn't have a single episode published or anything. And I just reached out to him out of the blue, like saw he was a pastor at a church. So I emailed him and like waited a couple of days. He got back and was like, would love to come by. Sounds good. And like he just showed up at my house like in
That's so cool. Yeah.
Not a single episode published, just like the vision of what I wanted, like in the thing. And like I felt horrible too, because like we filmed in my attic and he had like a month prior at his knee replacement. Oh no. And I'm like, it's in the attic. And no part of me was like, we can do it down here. He's like, yeah, I have no problem. We'll get up to the attic and get up there.
What a trooper. What a legend.
A trooper. And he was also just a great, like, you could just tell like he meant what he said. You know what I mean? Like he was really thoughtful. Maybe that's what makes him a good journalist. Like he was so personable. But yeah, arguably one of my favorite conversations.
I had a really similar experience with Coyote Peterson. Coyote Peterson was the fourth podcast we ever did, and Coyote Peterson's like he's one of the most viewed people in human history. Yeah. Like he has something like 10 billion views on his YouTube channel. Like, just think about that. 10 billion views on his YouTube channel. He's got one video that's got like 80 million views just like independently. Crazy, right? And I just reached out to him and he was like, yeah, I'm in Columbus. I'm part of like the Columbus Art and Media Council. I think this would be great. I want to, help like local media people. No, I think he'd probably be legit. And he came, he did the podcast. He was super genuine. He had no problem answering anything. But the thing that still sticks out in my mind is afterwards, one of my employees was there and he's like, hey, like, I'm sorry to do this and be this guy, but like my son's the biggest fan of yours. Like, would you mind just like doing a little video for him? And he's like, oh yeah, totally. Takes the phone, turns it around, hits record, and like a switch flips and Coyote is here in the room. He goes, what's up, Colton? It's Coyote Peterson here. And I was like, whoa, like literally like a whole new person like joined the conversation. It was cool, and he's just such a nice guy. And for a guy who's been so successful in the media world to just spend a bunch of time with us and not be like, well, how many views are you getting on your podcast? Like, dude, yeah. Just was like, let's do it, man. This will be cool. I'll connect with you guys. Like, I hope a billion people see it, but if 10 people see it, that'll be cool.
And those people are just incredible. One of the common threads that I've like, because I always like ask people on the pod like what excites you about the future of Columbus, or what do you like about Columbus, stuff like that. Like, and one of the common threads I see is like people here in the city, and maybe it's a broader picture too, but like really want to help support the other people trying to do stuff in the city. You know what I mean? There's like like a rising water lifts all ships. Is that the saying?
I think so.
But yeah, I've noticed that too. Like you could reach out to anyone and almost instantly be like, yeah, absolutely, I'd love to come on.
Very like non-Floridian, non-New York City, and non-LA. Like if you hang out with those places, like you're like, these people do not care about me.
Yeah,
like
you were a great example of that. Not to, I gotta give you your flowers. Like early on, like when I moved here, it was like 3 months in, I had started doing like video production, and it was ass. Like my stuff was horrible. Like early on,
it was not horrible. That's not fair.
Okay. It was. I guess for what you.
It was early days. Your fees were very low. Yes, they were very low.
Fair, but like right off the bat, you were like, "Hey man, welcome." Like I'd love to. Like our buddy Mitch like connected us and was like, well, just one of those things where it's like people want to help the other people who are doing stuff kind of grow, and you were huge about that early on.
Well, not everybody is like that, and I just like people who are going out and doing things. Like many people's first reaction when they hear that someone is doing something, whatever, Connor's starting a podcast, or he's starting a media business, or he, wants to start a parade in Columbus, they go, that's dumb. That's stupid. And I'm like, well, hold on a minute. Like, why is it? Like, and I just think that there's just this bias for people to be like, well, that's different. No, I don't like that. I don't want him to do that. I don't think he should do that. It's a lot of, he shouldn't do that. It's a waste of his time. Okay, well, he's out there doing it. And at the end of the day, there's got to be somebody out there doing it. And they all started small. And, every company that's a $1 billion company started by selling one thing, $1, and moving the needle forward. And I just like when people are willing to go out and do stuff. Like, let's not be critical before we ourselves are willing to go put ourselves out there.
I'm 100% in that same boat. I love just whenever I have a friend like that is doing something, it's just how can I support it? Like, is it how can I be part of that? How can I be part of it? But how can I help you? Like, what avenues do I have that like, oh, are you opening a bar? Like, come on the podcast, like, or I'll come your opening day or something like that. I'm the same way because I don't know how people, and maybe it's just me, but I can't sit still. I can't just focus on like, if you were to put me behind a desk every day for the next 35 years, I would tell you when I retired that I lived one of the most unfulfilling lives. And there's some people that like can definitely do that and like that and don't have that like voice that is constantly like,
yes,
you have to do more, do something else, go out, or like this idea of what they want to do and can't actually do it. And that's where it's like you find those mutual people who are doing stuff because they all have kind of that voice of like, go out and do this. And I think a lot of people have it. A lot of people have that voice.
Yeah, we come across them, definitely those people who are like, I want to just come in, punch my clock, do my job, and leave.
That makes
nothing wrong with it. That's totally fine. Yep. I just don't want to have exclusively those people around me because then you start to think, yeah, maybe this is what I should just do. And I just get excited when people are out there trying stuff. And it's cool when you try something, and if it doesn't work, that's cool. We just go in and we try again. It rarely are the consequences of us failing very high. And I think that's a misnomer that a lot of people have. Like, if I start this podcast and people like watch it and it stinks, it's like, well, first, no one's going to watch it. Second, if it does like fail, then what? Like, you lost a couple of bucks. It's like, okay, well, we spend money on stupid stuff all the time. Like, let's get over that. Maybe it is investment. And like, okay, people lose money in investments. There's a book out there called You Only Have to Get Rich Once. And it's like, that's true. Like if you do it right, you really only do need to get rich once. So sometimes only that one idea is what you need.
It was like really early on in the podcast. I think I had posted like a dozen or so reels, and I had like no views, no nothing, but like one comment on like the first 4, and it was like, someone should put a tariff on podcasting equipment or something like that. And it was just one of the reels I had shared from, I don't know, it was like, I think it was my conversation with Jerry or something, just someone scrolling by and it was just talking about like places to eat or something. And I remember seeing that, I'm like, oh, like this is good.
Well, like they didn't want you to have podcast equipment?
Like that was the joke. It was just like.
But hey, that's good. You're getting like people are commenting and hating, like hey.
Right. But then it was like 5 or 6 followers. I'm like, gosh, like should. But then I think just I've done like, don't view the comments as much, or like view them a little bit just to get a taste for what people are thinking. But I think that is something that also plays a big part in people. I mean, I still battle with this today. I don't know if you do, but like, I still kind of care what people think of me, and I wish I could escape that. But maybe it's being in TV for so long, but like, when I'm up there and I'm like talking, I'm like really purposeful about trying to just let the other person talk, because I was like, oh, I don't want to be interpreted as like, oh, this guy has an opinion, this guy. But then again, I've started to come to the point where I was like, I don't really care. I'm doing what I like to do.
Well, I tell people that my podcast is a conversation. It's not an interview.
So, I mean, I guess
Mine's much more an interview.
If that's what you want it to be, that's fine. But you could even tell people it's like it's 60% interview, 40% conversation. You know, interconversation, something like that, a hybrid of those two things. I think that would be fine. Yeah. Who are some other people that really stand out? You've had some restaurateurs, some bar owners. You've dabbled in some political stuff. Yeah. I don't know if that's of interest to you.
Yeah, it is, because I think that. Not to get super on a high horse here, but like, I think that like a super well-informed community, like if I could have listened to my local township trustee say why they did what they are doing, like I would love to, like when my small town growing up, like I would have loved that, you know. So my thing is to try to get people on to just like talk about their beliefs. What has been interesting is like, there was like the national circuit where like, oh, these politicians are going on the podcast, you know, Joe Rogan, Theo, you know, like all these. It's funny because it's like, I'm noticing there's like a couple local Columbus podcasts that are like super Columbus focused, and it's like, I'll get like a message from, hey, I manage so-and-so's campaign. They'd love to stop by on the pod, and I'll be like, yeah, that sounds great. And then I'll like see like they were just on it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So it kind of cracks me up. But I'm really interested in the political stuff, because I'm voting too a lot of the time. I, like, especially when they fall in my, like, where I'm located, I'm like, yeah, I absolutely don't want to miss a conversation, like, where I can get a feel, because I can get a feel for someone, like, go next to them, like, oh, you, like, whether or not you answer the questions, like, I can get a feel for if you're being genuine or if you're kind of being sly, and it might help my vote, and it might, like, help people who are watching this vote, like, you know, if you're not just behind a dais saying your talking points, if you're actually just approached with a long-form conversation. If you can hold up and do that, like you're higher up in my book. So yeah, I'm definitely there's some more, I don't know when this will come out, but like there'll be some more political stuff in the future, but also just a mix of other things. I've enjoyed the political conversations. I love talking with the people, and I love talking with them afterwards when the camera's not rolling, because that's also when you get a little more of like this is why I didn't say it on camera. Like, you would have. But I really, at the end of the day, I kind of just want to talk to as many people as I can, with whatever capacity I have, because I also edit and work a full-time job and kind of work a second job with the video stuff on the side. So it's like, with what I can do, I will do as many people as I can. But I love, where I have found some super authentic people is in like the music scene. I had this guy on named Joey H. Joseph Holbert's his name. I had him on, a little while back. Just one of the most genuine dudes. Like he stayed around for like a little while afterwards and talked. There's just the people who are like doing their own thing, like we talked about. There's this guy who organized like a Columbus trash cleanup. It's called Trash Party. Colin is his name. Like he came on, and you know, you could tell he was a little shy. I reached out to him because I thought what they were doing is cool. Like we talked for a while and just finding his interest and like why he does this, and it's like, oh, you are such a genuine person. And then afterwards he like stayed and we had like a glass of bourbon for like a while. My goal, I would love to get like an elected official or someone higher up there and then like have a drink with them. That's like my goal.
Well, my banker at Huntington said that she was in the office the day that I think it was either DeWine or Husted, or DeWine and Husted and Mark Kwame, the Drive Capital guy, got together and they're like, we should do something with this liquor thing, this Ohio liquor. And like essentially she was like in the meeting where they founded Ohio Liquor. So I don't know if you know a whole lot about Ohio Liquor, which
it's very interesting how it all works.
I have my own opinions on whether this is necessary, which are very straightforward. This is not necessary. Like we are putting government in a position that is not necessary. And I don't know if
a historically anti-government place.
I know, right? Like the way that it works is so crazy because the stores don't pay for the alcohol. They get the alcohol on consignment and then they report back their sales. It's like, why do we need that? Like, we don't need that for coffee. We don't need that for tea. We don't need that for televisions. Like, Best Buy has consignment TVs from the government. They'll report their sales at the end. Like, why do we need this? This is silly, but whatever. Neither here nor there. But, well, yeah, you could try to get one of those guys and, hey, we'll have a little glass of bourbon. They probably would take, do the old Obama sip, like when he's drinking the lead water. Like, see, it's fine. It's great,
But no, I like that to your original point. Like, I just want to talk with a lot of people, man. You're the same way with how you do it. You're probably just interested in what people are doing and want to get at, like, the core of why they're doing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Do you have some guests that you're still hoping to get on? Like you said, elected officials. What would be amazing is if you get the individuals who are gonna run for governor. That'd be so cool if like the podcast could grow to the point where it's like we have to go on the Columbus Chronicle, or else like I might not get elected if I don't go on and hang out in this guy's attic.
A lot of responsibility. It'd be cool. I would love to have people on to have that conversation. I'd love to have like Acton and Vivek on and just have them like just chat about what they're doing. But I don't know if that's like in the cards. I do know one of the people I really wanted to get on, it's a bit of a funny story. I don't know if this is exactly how it happened or why it happened, but I reached out to former Mayor Michael Coleman.
Okay, yep, that'd be a great one. Yep.
Sent him a DM, said he was interested, said reach out to the office, said yeah, I would be super interested. We'll get back to you in a couple days. This was early on. This was like I published my interview with the Rooster.
Oh boy.
Like the next day.
Oh.
That same week was like or something. It was in that same time frame when all this happened. Was when he like approached Coleman on the street and kind of did the interrogation thing.
Come on, Rooster.
I was like, oh man, like I think the odds of like if you were to say, oh, who's this guy? Like, who's this guy's podcast? Let's go see what.
Let's check. He's got this SOB.
Yeah. Which DJ loved.
He's a hoot, man. Dude, he's. It's funny because he was. Well, aside from him riding his bicycle to me in Plain City in the pouring rain. It was like not a nice day out. Like, dude, it's like 70. It's so beautiful. I'm going to ride my bike. He rode from he lives, I think, in like Franklinton or like downtown, basically. So Plain City's that's like a 17, 20-mile ride. And it's in the pouring rain. He just like walks inside with his bike. And I'm like, hey, man, how's it going? Like, do you need a ride home after this? He's like, nah, I kind of like doing the bike thing. And by then it was like late because I think we got on at like 5 or 5:15, and it was like 7:15. I was like, this guy is a maniac in more ways than one. But he was like pretty normal and like really like a good conversation once we met him.
Respect the commitment to the bit, and I also I love that there's someone to constantly just harass our politicians about things.
I agree.
I think every city should have a Rooster.
The Rooster goes national. That probably could work. It'd be like an Andrew Callahan, like Channel 5 News kind of thing. Yeah.
It was. I respect the biking thing. I talked with him a little bit about it. If you get the chance, just kind of say, have you ever done the Ohio to Erie, the bike trail?
I have not, but I know about it.
I did it with Matt Ryan, our mutual friend Matt Ryan, and his buddy Brad, and we did it. And that is like, will give you a fresh appreciation for the state of Ohio. You get the beauty of the whole state, and you start at Lake Erie, end in Cincinnati, and it's just...
How many days did it take you?
It took us 5, and it was 326 miles, so it's like 70-ish miles.
So were those pretty hard days or not that crazy? 70 miles seems like a lot.
Yeah, it was exhausting, and typically I think it would be okay, except we did it on literally like the second hottest week of the year. That year, it was like 91 or something, like for like 3 of the days. Like we got heat exhaustion like the first day.
Oh no.
Set us back for the whole trip. I got a rash like the second.
Oh yeah.
Not cool.
Oh yeah. My undercarriage just is already like nervous about that.
Yeah.
Sitting on that bike for that long.
It's really rewarding, but it is a pain in the where the bike is. Yeah.
I would love to see some. I know that this is a bias of mine, but I would love to see some like Columbus athletes. I'd love to talk to Wilfred Nancy from the Columbus Crew. An amazing one that I don't know if he would do this at this point or not, but Darlington Nagby from the Columbus Crew just retired. Well, he is retiring after this season, he's like a legend. He's like an MLS legend. He's an Ohio legend because he's from Lakewood. He's been the cruise captain for 4 or 5 years, won 2 MLS Cups with us. He's like arguably the most decorated, most awarded, best MLS player of all time.
Reach out.
And he's like super quiet, just like I've had people who met him at like the Fast 50, and they're like, "Who's this like little guy?" Because like apparently in person he's not a big guy, but I was like, you couldn't get the ball off him in a million years.
Have you invited him on?
I haven't. I should. You're right. But I don't know. You're so Columbus focused. Like,
Do you want me to like say come here?
you get him first, then you send him my way. He'll be like, actually, one podcast only per decade.
No, there's just at the end of the day, there's so many cool people in the city doing cool stuff. And
Yeah.
that's what I like, and I think I mean, you know it. You live in the area. Like, you will not run out of people.
Yeah. When you're looking for cool things, you'll find it. When you think that Columbus is lame or boring or whatever adjective you want to insert here, then it's like, okay, well then you're not going to be interested in the painter, the muralist, or the musician. Like, so what if they don't have 1 million downloads like on their songs? Like they're still doing something.
They're making great music. Like, I love Joey's music. Like Joey H, who I was talking about earlier. Like, I love Hazard, Kentucky, and there was like. When I was there was like 3 bars, I think, or 4 bars, and one of them was an Applebee's. And it was like, it's super small town. There was like not a lot of people my age, but like it's you make the most of where you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't know. I think a lot of people are just don't take the effort to go outside as much, and not outside, but like to be involved as much anymore for an array of reasons. But I think there's just so much you can do, and you can really like. You just put yourself out there, man. Like, kind of how we were talking about before.
I'm bullish on Columbus, Ohio, man. I think Columbus could be, one of the really important places in the United States. I don't know if a recent interview that you heard with Palmer Luckey, the Anduril guy, yeah. Oculus and Anduril. I mean, I don't know how often he's here in Columbus. I don't think I heard him talk about Columbus at all, but that was a super interesting interview because I just thought like, hey, he's just like kooky guy and he's a defense contractor and he's 33. I was like, SOB, man. I was like, this guy's like, he was like a billionaire at like 25. I was like, this is nuts. Like, this is literally like a science fiction story where like, I started this tech company and I sold it when I was 25 and I was a billionaire and then I started a defense contractor. I'm like, this is like the Matrix. This is a simulation.
Yeah. He seems like a character. I think I watched something that one of the like financial reports or one of the financial stations did on like YouTube with him, where it was like him in his old car and like his studio and stuff. He seems like a character.
Definite character.
On the tech side of things, what are your thoughts on all the data centers and the electricity and?
I don't have an insanely strong opinion on it. I am good with companies coming in and providing cost. So with the city of Marysville, I'm pretty close with their economic development director, and he, faces the heat when stuff like that happens, literally, probably, and figuratively. But he's like, they have an enormous tax base. Like, it's not nothing. I know people think it's nothing, but it's like, no, it's a lot. It's a big tax base. So that seems to be good as compared to a farm that's like, pulling in $700 a year for the county or the city. You're pulling in probably $100,000 to $150,000 or $200,000. So that's a good thing. I know there's a lot of concerns with the energy. It seems like we need to find ways to produce more energy. Probably not you or me are going to solve that problem. Like, it seems like we have to go to nuclear in some way, shape, or form, or these cities have to require like a self-contained power plant, essentially, which is what they do with water. One thing I didn't know was that these web servers and stuff, they take an enormous amount of water to cool them. So like the city of Marysville, they were having to provide something like 50,000 gallons a day. And I was like, what? I'm like, that, like, it's hard to wrap my head around 50,000 gallons a day. But now they're requiring a lot of them. Like, you got to do your own water containment. You got to have like a water recycling system that like you do. But it's tough, right? Because you want the city to be competitive, right? It's competition.
It's like the thing that is so like I have like and I know there's a lot of things. So this is a very like straight. There's a lot of nuance to this opinion, but I am a big believer. It's like, I just don't think that we should be. I don't even know if subsidizing is the right word, but providing these funds to some of these multi-billion-dollar companies that come in. This is going on a tirade. It doesn't have to be something we on it for a while, but that's like my frustration. It's like, not even data centers, but like I think like the Haslams, like moving the Browns stadium to Brook Park.
That is a crazy one. Because I sat in on a breakfast with their, what did they call him? Like their head of competitiveness or something. He's like the third in charge. And they were like raving about the Lower.com stadium and everything around it, the Astor Park. And me and my brother were like, dude, they really want to do this same thing in Cleveland. They're like obsessed with it. And they were like really excited about like being real estate developers. And I was like, let's focus on the task at hand. Like, we need to win some games here. But it makes sense because they bought like, I don't know how many acres, 200 acres where they are. And they're like, well, we have 100 acres left. So like, we can build some apartments and we can build a parking garage and BBI logistics and all this stuff. But I was like, well, this isn't really the primary focus, right? It's that monetization versus competitiveness thing. The one thing I would say about like the subsidizing something like, Amazon coming in and doing AWS, I'll speak from my personal experience. So both buildings that we built here in Plain City, we got a tax abatement of some sort. So I want to say our old building was 5 years. I think this one was 7 years. So it's like a 7-year, 30 or 40% tax abatement. So on our property taxes, which that had to get approved through the school, that had to get approved through the Jerome Township and all this. And what my director of economic development for the city of Marysville, his case to everyone was, this is currently vacant land. It is making the town like $1,200 in tax revenue a year. Alex is going to come in. He's going to build a $7 million building, and their property taxes will be $50,000 a year 7 years from now. In the short term, they're going to get like a good haircut on that. Yeah. So instead of $50,000, they're going to pay like 25 or 30. So they are getting a big, they're getting $20,000 back. But he's like, what do you want? Do you want the $1,200 or do you want the $30,000? And I guess you could make the case, would Alex have built the building regardless of that incentive? Maybe. But it's right. Why wouldn't I go to Hilliard? Right. Well, hey, Hilliard's offering me a tax incentive to come in because they're competing essentially town to town, Marysville to Dublin to Hilliard and all these places. So it's tough. Like, do you just say like, well, you don't do any tax abatements? All right, well, then you might have a city like, London, Ohio, where it's like there just isn't that much happening in your town. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But I personally think that the way that he described it to me, it makes a lot of sense.
That's a great argument. And I am like, that makes sense to me. My thing is like, why then do the Haslams need $600 million to build a new stadium when they're billionaires? That would be,
and they can't really move the Browns. So like the argument there would be if we don't build it, they'll move the Browns. But because of the Art Modell laws, they really can't move the Browns.
Please elaborate more.
So this is one of the primary reasons why the Crew didn't leave. So you remember the Save the Crew movement. You were probably in Kentucky during the time, but
I was well aware.
Yep. So it's actually a really funny story. I had met Anthony Precourt. I drove him and his family to and from an Ohio State Buckeye game. This was before he was like, F you, Precourt. Like, this was way before that. That was probably like 2016 or 17 or 18. You could look it up when he bought the Browns because I was working for a sports entertainment company, and we just so happened, we're like, we'd like to help out. We'd like to do some sponsorship. So we took him to a Buckeye game. Doesn't matter. But when he decided that he was going to try to move the team, this process ensued, Save the Crew. And as far as I understand, nothing was really gaining a whole lot of traction. So the Ohio AG, I believe, launched a lawsuit. And they said, hey, wait a minute. You are not allowed to move this team. And the reason for that is after the Cleveland Browns were moved to Baltimore, by Art Modell. Someone came in and said, never again, we're putting a law down, and that law says that if you take public funding for a sports team and a sports stadium, you are not allowed to move that team out of the state unless you offer to sell it to someone internally for a fair price.
Big fan.
Yeah. Well, here you go. So the state of Ohio sued Precourt and the MLS and said, you guys took public funding for your parking lot.
Yeah.
You did not offer this for sale to a local group. You're not going to let this go. So the lawsuit starts, and it's like, okay, wheels are turning, right? The rumor is, no way of knowing if this is true, the rumor is that the NFL commissioner, Roger Goodell, picks up the phone, and he calls the MLS, Don Garber, who the Crew fans absolutely hate because they think that he hates us, which they're probably right because he was going to approve the move. Calls Don Garber and goes, hey, I don't care what you got going on with this little league thing that you have going, but you are not going to allow case law to be set with your soccer teams. Because essentially, if they push that lawsuit forward and they decided, yeah, this fits all the fact pattern, which, by the way, biased court because it's in the state of Ohio. If you set the case law, then the state of, Missouri could say, hey, we're going to set actually a law like that also because we don't want our teams to leave. And then cascade effect, all these small markets start setting laws that say you can't take public funding. So then it's a big bind because it's like, shoot, we really want that public funding, but if we take it, then we're locked into this location. We really can't sell.
Good.
Right. Because, those owners, they want to sell from, Kansas City, Missouri, and go to L.A. We want the L.A. money, right? The same thing happens, Commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, calls. He goes, yeah, we're not letting you guys set this case law. He's like, figure this thing out. So the rumor is he, hung up the phone and went, all right, we need to make everybody happy here. I'm not going to piss off the NFL and the NBA and all these major sports systems. Let's allow Anthony Precourt to open up a team in Austin. We'll allow the local team to be sold. We will not allow this lawsuit to press forward. We'll have them drop the lawsuit, and everyone will be happy. So that is what happened, and that's one of the primary reasons why the Crew was able to stay. Not because of the kindness of the MLS or the kindness of Anthony Precourt, but because the screws got turned on him. He went, we don't want to set this thing up for failure.
Good. No, I'm a fan of that. I think if you're taking those public dollars from people, to up and go is just such a
A lawyer from a firm called Taft told me that story. And he was apparently instrumental and kind of saw the back end workings. So how much of that is true, I don't know, but it's a great story, right?
It took up a great portion of the pod.
Connor, is there anything you think we didn't cover, man? Anything you're really excited about in the future with the podcast and the city and projects and stuff you got coming up that you'd like to hit on?
I like you. I'm bullish on the city. I think it's a great city. I think it's the right amount of people who are excited to do things, but also realize that hey, we aren't Chicago. It's I don't know how to say this right, but we don't we're not so far up our own ass that we're not seeing that there are things that are going on in the city that maybe we should address, or maybe we don't want to be like this. We just want to be this city of our own. So I think that's cool. I'm super excited about where the direction of Columbus is going. And like you, I'm just a fan of people doing stuff. Can listen to the pod, Columbus Chronicle.
Yeah, we'll definitely link it. One of the cool things I think about Columbus is that we are blossoming at the right time. We didn't blossom in the 1800s or the 1920s or 1940s like Detroit or Boston or New York, and those cities are pretty much set up the way that they're going to be set up in terms of transit, in terms of population density, in terms of just the way that people interact with each other. We kind of have a blank slate in 2025 that we can take this city in any direction that we want, and I think that's a huge advantage over a lot of other cities.
I completely agree. I love Cincinnati. Love Cincinnati. Love Cleveland. But like you say, those areas are pretty much
their grids are bad. They're horrible.
Good luck getting something through with the way everything's set up.
It's you got to tear it down and start again, and I don't think any city really wants to do that.
No. But no, I appreciate everyone who's doing stuff just like you. And I love the pod. Love what you're doing.
Thank you, man. Thank you for coming out. We'll do the full tour. We'll show you around this place, and then yeah, man. Thank you so much, brother. Appreciate you.